So I just have a question just from your experiences. And I know, Doris, you've only been there for a short while, but I do think maybe you can speak to this too. I'm curious if you both see or feel that Congress is as divisive as our media kind of portrays them to be. Do you feel like with working with our legislators that it feels like it's so contentious on every issue? Or do you feel that maybe the news is hyping that up a little bit too much?
You want to start off, Doris, or you want me to?
Sure.
I think some of it will depend on the issue, and some of it will depend on the particular personalities of members of Congress. Some of the drama that you see about specific members of Congress going at each other, that's not underestimated at all. But overall, a lot of the work's actually done by the policy staff that Ben was talking about, and it is an exciting time when the new staff come, but also when they have those periods between when they can talk to each other. Most people come to Washington, D.C. to make a difference for the better. It's easy to lose all of that in the newspapers, but the people who are going to sit across from you, across the table from you at a meeting, are people who really genuinely believe that the government has the power to change lives. And so behind all of that, there's always going to be political moments, especially in an election year. But underneath all of that, there are the people who are determined to make a difference. And so underneath that curve, there is actually a lot of room to combat cynicism, and there is not as much acrimony. The fact of it is, if you go into the key Senate committees, the staffers from across the aisle are on first name basis, and they're chummy, and they all have rip-roaring arguments about specific subtopics, but overall they understand government is important, it needs to function, and they need to do their work and move forward. I think another thing that the news cycle doesn't quite capture is that it can take a long time for an idea to take root. So, you'll see these bills that have these very humiliating public defeats, and it kind of sounds like the idea that's behind them. So, a certain type of financing for a program targeting, vulnerable populations. It might seem like, okay, we stop caring about poor people. That program died, and Congress has moved on, and the idea is dead. The idea is not dead. It's going to keep coming back, Congress after Congress, year after year, before it finally becomes a law, either much stronger or slightly different from how it started. We've woven into different bills, maybe broken up into chunks. So one component will be passed every year in a very trickle-down effect that the media just is not equipped, because they do tend to be in a short cycle to kind of track over the 10 years what started out as this huge multi-part bill that died in a flaming ball of fire, has been broken out, and now every single component of it has passed over the past 10 years. So that, it's things do happen, they just don't necessarily happen at a visible level. Healthcare reform before the ACA passed, that was a 20-year-old idea.
Right. And I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because you're right. It's not something that we hear all the time. If there is something that we're very passionate about, we want to see it pass. And if it doesn't pass, it's like that bill died. And then I imagine that also kind of dampens people's spirits and doesn't make them want to do a ton of advocacy at that moment. But to hear that actually, maybe it was too big in its original presentation, and then it's broken up over time and passed in smaller chunks, which in essence is kind of like what we do with therapy. We take big issues, break them up, and make them digestible or understandable over time. So I think that really helps us to hopefully be a little more patient and sorry, that ding is driving me insane. I don't know where it's coming from. A little more patient and a little bit more steadfast with our desire to do advocacy, because I think that's a theme that I keep hearing is you definitely have to be in it for the long haul. It's a marathon, not a sprint.